What's up guys, it's Oscar again with TCG Scrubs on YouTube. Now today I'm going to talk to you about Lackey CCG, what it is, how to install it, and just little tips and tricks at the end. Now I'm going to go ahead and play some Lackey video here that we've recorded from us playing, just so I can explain to you what it is. Lackey CCG is a program that we utilize when playing online. It's a client where all the Force of Will cards are uploaded into. You can create a deck, use that deck to play against opponents online who may not be near you. It's what we use when we're playing with Joe of Joe's Corner when he's in California and we're all the way in Texas. Now, Lackey CCG, it does allow for other plugins, but the one we're focused on today and we're only going to talk about is a Force of Will plugin. It's the only one I'm familiar with. I'm sure others exist out there. This plugin, like I said, will have all the card contents uploaded into it. So once you open up Lackey CCG, once that plugin's been applied, all you see is Force of Will cards. And this will allow you to build a deck, look through cards, figure out what you want to build. So now you kind of have an understanding of what Lackey CCG is. Let's go ahead and jump into installing it for the first time. Now this is a question we get quite often. A lot of people want to know how to install it and then how to work it, because it is kind of confusing once you've opened it up for the first time, but once you've gotten past that, it's really easy to use. Now I'm going to show you how to install the latest version of the Lackey plugin. It's from Hihachi. This is going to be the widely used plugin, so I really recommend everybody to use this one plugin. It's up to date, has Ancient Knights, which is the latest set at the recording of this video. It's also what's going to be used for, say, certain tournaments that are going to be held. I know that jruler.net holds a monthly tournament. Make sure to check that out. I'll make sure to link his YouTube in the description below. And I know that other teams in the past have also held Lackey tournaments. I know it's something that we want to do going forward as well. We'll see how that goes. With that said, let's go ahead and figure out how to install Lackey. Now, depending on what system you're running on, I'm running Windows 10, so I'm just going to click on this Windows option here and hit save. Now the download only takes a couple of seconds to do. What I did is I went ahead and moved it to my desktop for my downloads folder. Now the program itself is packaged into a zip file, so you do need to find a method of unzipping that. I'm simply using a trial version of WinZip. It's not that great. I'm sure there's better options out there. I was just super lazy about how I did this, and I don't unzip files that often. So if you already have your own method of unzipping a file, perfect. If you're on Mac OS, it should automatically do it itself. If anything else, just look up WinRAR or WinZip. You should be able to get to the contents of this folder from that. Now here are the contents of the folder. There is a Mac OS X version as well as just the Lackey CCG folder. This is all we're going to focus on today. So I'm going to go ahead and select this and then drag it to my desktop. It extracts the file. We're done with this. You can close it out. I'm going to minimize this for now, and we'll come back to talk about some of these other tabs a little bit later. For now, this is the folder. This is the folder you need to focus on. I recommend just keeping it on tact. The program is inside of it. The reason why is there's a plugin folder here. That comes in a little bit useful later. I'll show you a little trick with sharing deck lists so you don't have to keep recreating them. For now, I just recommend dropping that into your documents folder. For the sake of this video, I'm gonna leave it on my desktop so we can talk about this. And we're gonna go ahead and jump into the game. So we're gonna double click the Lackey CCG. This will be the actual program itself. And close that folder out. This is not too important. I'm actually running through a tutorial with you guys right now. So we'll just say do not show on startup or don't show on startup. And let's make this full screen. So here is the program itself. This is the shell of it. It's automatically loaded with a plugin called War 3000, which is just a default generic plugin. I'm not sure what War 3000 is. It may just be a dummy plugin to show you an example of how plugins are applied. For now, we will go to that plugin tab, and we're going to go ahead and install our own version. If you see this little bar here for the auto update URL, the URL we'll use will be in the description below. And it is right here in a sticky note from Hihachi. You see his name right there in the center. He is the one who maintains the plugin. Make sure it's up to date with the latest versions of card. Mine accidentally applied a space at the end. That underscore should not be there. It should end right at the end of the end where it says plugin. You don't do that, it may not apply the update correctly. So we'll just click install, update from URL. And there it goes, it's installing the update. It's gonna have all the Force of Will cards coming here soon. Now, one thing I will point out to you is that this plugin is constantly being updated. It's not 100% perfect. There are some little small issues I find here and there. Such as like say typos when searching, or even say some card art that doesn't take the full space. I'll show you that here in a minute. Now again, he's always updating this, so he should have it to where it's fully functional and pretty to look at. And as you see here, the plugin has finished, so we'll hit load Force of Will plugin. Essentially restarts the program to the main screen, that game offline tab, with Force of Will applied. And there you have it. Force of Will has now been applied to this. And that's how we're going to install Force of Will plugin. Everything's set up to go. Now, if you'd rather explore this on your own, you're good to go. You don't need to watch the rest of this video, but I'd like to show you how to use the application for those of you who don't know already. Now, the screen we're on now is a screen you'll always see on startup. This is the main screen. This is going to also be the play field. This is going to be a screen you look at when you're playing a game. Now, it's a little hard to see, but right here in my mouse cursor in the center, you'll see a crosshair. That's just showing different quadrants of the play area. So this side is going to be our side to play on. The other side is the opponent's side to play on. It looks like it's really slim, not enough space, but it's perfect. It's great. And you can adjust how big the play field is just here. Now adjusting this right here will take away from hand space. This is where your hand will be. And this is a chat in case you're not on Discord or say Skype, where you're communicating with your opponent and you need to type out moves you're performing and if the priority is good. So you could just take accordingly from that. I will usually do this for my chat, and then my hand doesn't need to be that big, so I'll go like this. Gives plenty of space for me to play on. It auto adjusts for my opponent to view on their own. It auto adjusts for the opponent just based on their spacing, so this is just for my own sake. Now some more details about the play area. If you look here on the left hand side, you will see the 2 players playing the game. We need to set our name. We haven't done that yet, and that is a requirement for going online. This will be our life, and if you're hosting the game, you'll be on top. If you're not hosting a game but you're joining a game that a friend or somebody online may be hosting, you should be on bottom. Just so you don't get too confused. There's been times where I removed health from here and I was on bottom because I joined a hosted game. To remove health, like say you swung in with Tama for 2 and you need to remove your opponent's health, they usually do it themselves, but you'll click here and hit -2. If you happen to be gaining life, you'll hit the plus signs right below them. Goes up to 2,000, so if you're swinging for 24, hit the 20 and hit the 4 and removes life accordingly. We'll just say 2 happened to my opponent, and you see it automatically updates. It's now at 38 life. Now that that's out of the way, there are little tabs here across the hand area. You have your hand size, which will show the number here. It also shows it on these tabs across the left side here. This is pretty handy when I'm playing my opponent. I want to know how many cards they have in hand. I can see they have 9 or 2, 6, whatever they have. And then you have a deck tab, a graveyard, removed area. I'm not going to worry about life break, but stone deck, side, and tokens. Let's go create a deck real quick so you can see what it looks like when all the cards are populated in those areas. Before I do that, there are also some gems here. This is a new addition to the plugin, recently updated. What you'll do is select the card that will be in play, and you'll select the number of gems you want to put, like say 2 fire gems, and 2 fire gems will apply. There'll be a recover all button, draw, and flip the card, which will help you J-activate, or if you're shifting to a shifted side of a card, shift the card. This will be easier to explain. Let me make a deck real quick. I'm gonna make a super generic deck. What we'll call it is just say Favor. Now that's where your deck name will go. It's very important to say, specifically name these decks. This is my first one, was called Favor. If I ever make one in the future, I'll call it like Favor 2.0 or Favor and Hook if it has a hook in it. Something to help you understand which one is which. Now in here you'll see different tabs for the deck building itself. We have a ruler tab, deck, stone deck, side deck, and tokens. It's very important to understand which tab you're under, because whatever tab you're under here, when you apply cards down here, it's going to be where the cards go. Now you see here is downloading images, because I just kind of fanned over these first few cards. Good thing to do is go ahead and go to plugin and just hit download all missing card images. This will download every single card. It does take a while, so if you don't have the time to do this, you may hold off a bit. While that's downloading, let's go back to deck editor. Now that we're under deck editor, we're gonna go over to the ruler tab, which is the default tab it always starts on. And let's go ahead and find our ruler. So quick note about the search bar, it's very specific. For instance, water transformation. We all know it's called Charlotte's water transformation, but you can't just type in water transformation. It won't pull up. You will have to type in the beginning of every single card's actual name. If I can spell correctly. And you'll see here, Charlotte's water transformation pulls up right here. Boop, there's the card image. So again, very specific. Applies to every single card. So say Scorn of Dark Alice. Nope, you have to type in the Scorn of Dark Alice. And this kind of comes back into play with those tabs I had open. I often will use a database in case there's a card I don't remember the name of. And you see here, I typed in a couple already. Let's say Wukong. I don't remember his exact name. I can't just type in Wukong. And there it is, Sun Wukong. Now I know. This is the official card database. I usually don't use it too often. I'm sure it's super useful and works, functionally the same, but it's just when you've been using this for a couple years now, it's the go-to for me. But back to it, let's add that Favor to the deck. And here it is, it's the ruler. What we'll do is we'll double click on him, and it automatically adds him to your deck. Another option is at the very bottom here, you'll see some plus signs and minus signs. You can always use that as well. We'll clear this, and now that we have the Favor in the deck, let's add some cards to the deck. Let's add Spirit Caller Elf. It's pretty useful card that goes in his deck. And let's add one. Actually add a full playset, so I'm gonna add 3 more. And you'll see here the count is 4. Spirit Caller Elf. Shows your deck size here. Figure this out. Now another useful card, let's just go with Tama for now. Just thinking about Wind. And let's say we'll add a Tama. And I'm gonna add 3 more Tamas, and you can use these buttons right here. Boom, adds 4, deck total 8. So in case you're trying to stay under within the 40 limit, you can monitor that tab right there, that count number. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just build a generic deck real quick, and then we'll jump to the stones. This deck's not gonna be anything crazy. This is not a deck profile. You don't want to take this deck with you. And we'll be back in just a second. So we built a generic favor deck here. It does use tokens with Spirit Caller Elf, so I want to make sure I add some tokens. So we'll go to the tokens tab, and it's an elf token. This one you can just type in elf on, and you'll see here the different tokens that they offer. Now you can double click them to flip them on the other side. It's a lot of work, so I'm just going to go with this one. This one looks good enough. Now I can add a handful of tokens I think I might use, but I like to exceed that number. It really doesn't matter how many tokens you truly have. So I'll just hit the +10 button a few times, and it's 31 tokens. Should be way more than enough. Now that we have tokens decided, you'll go to side deck should you want to build a side deck, and go about the same way of adding cards to it as you did for the main deck. Just example here real quick. We'll add some Gale Force to my sideboard in case we ever go against any flying decks, and maybe a couple of these Christies. Same thing, you go through it, build a side deck, and then when it comes to stone deck, this is the one I was telling you about earlier with slight typos here and there. If you want Gusting Darkness, it has a typo on it, it's missing one of the G's. That should be fixed soon. But we're not running a black, green deck. We are just running mostly red and green, so Magic Stone of. Now I can't see the full names here, so you can drag this little tab over and see the full name. And the one I want to go with is Blasting Waves, because we are doing a green-red deck. So let's add those here real quick. Again, same manner of adding cards to a deck, you'll add them to your stone deck. Let's fast forward this part real quick while I finish adding stones. Okay, again, generic deck, has a few basic stones, a couple special magic stones, and that's all I need. Now, once we're completed making your deck, you're going to want to save the deck. The save button is right here in the middle section. I'll hit save deck. Now a quick note about this deck is if I go play test with some friends and maybe I want to make some changes, I'm like, you know what, splashing in red wasn't a good idea, let's just go solid green. If I come back to this deck and I click it and open it up, and this is how you would open up your deck, is you'll see them all listed right here, all the decks you have created. Once I've done that and I open up the deck and I go make some changes to this deck and remove some, unless I change the name of the deck and I make the changes and hit save, it's going to override what previously existed. Let's just say you want to keep that. Maybe you're like, it feels like it goes better if it goes solid green, but maybe it wouldn't, so I don't want to delete that old one. Hit space, creates an underscore, and I'll say, test. You can call it 1.0, 2.0, whatever you want to do for naming conventions. Now, I'll call it favorite test and hit save deck. Create the second deck, as you see here, favorite deck, favorite test.deck. And this will help you, keep them separate so you don't override a previous one and lose one of those decks. With that same note, if you go in to make the changes, you'll want to make sure to hit save before they actually apply the changes. I have seen cases where somebody made a change to their deck, didn't realize they didn't save it, went to go play a game with us, and had all their old cards that were useless. Not going to name names. So now that we have our deck created, let's go on to the server. Let's create a game. I'm not going to play anybody, don't have time for it right now. And I'll show you an example of how everything gets started. So let's go to server tab. Now server tab, because we've not set our name yet for our user or player name, it will default to the preferences tab. You see it jumped here, moved us away. We will set the name. Now I'm just going to name myself TCG Scrubs Grouch. That's all you need to set for information. I've never set email, Skype, or any public note before. Before connecting to the server, you must, So once you've set your name, just hit Save Player Profile. Go back to Server tab. Looks a little bit different. And then jump us to Preferences again, which is a good thing. And we'll go ahead and click on Connect to the Game Matching Server. Now as connects us in, you'll see a bunch of not installed in War 3000. And some people playing the actual Force of Will modular plugin. This is going to show every single player playing Lackey in general. Some of these are going to be Magic people or any other plugins that exist I may not know about. So what we're going to do is go and just click on Force of Will Modular. This will sort it by just players playing what we're playing today. And then we can sort this just by games as well. So we can see specifically the games that exist with just that. Now there is a chat section down here at the bottom where you can talk to people online. Maybe you want to find somebody to play a game with because you have nobody to play with right now. A great way to find games to play as well if you're just wanting to play for fun. Join our Discord. There's a lot of people who are usually want to play the Force of Will Lackey plugin and they don't have anyone to play with. So if you want to join it, link in the description below and you'll find somebody. Should be pretty easily. If not, one of us may jump in and just play a game with you. Now that you understand what you're looking at here, we will go to the host game tab right here. And we'll create a game. Now you can create a game name. To me, it's not super important. I usually just leave it with username/game. Now a password would be useful in case you're playing with a friend. So you want them to join your game, not somebody else who you don't want to join the game. So you can create a password, say, hey, it's me. Share that password with your friend. Now they'll see your game show up here. Now once they see your name here, they'll click your name. So here's password protected one. They will type in the appropriate password, and then this would highlight should it be the correct one. You hit join selected game. For ours, we'll just hit host, hey it's me, and host game. Now that has a password so nobody would join us. If you notice once you create the game, it defaults to that first tab again. It does change the name of the tab from offline to just game host. And we're in the game. Now we need to wait for our opponent to show up. In this case, we're not going to have an opponent, so I'm just going to leave this so there's nothing lingering. And we'll pretend the opponent came and sat down with us and we're ready to play a game. Now, once you're connected, again, you can use a chat section or a Discord or Skype, any way to communicate. And you'll go back to deck editor, select the deck you're wanting to play today. So I'm just going to go with this test one and load entire deck to you. This loads your entire deck. The ruler will always default to your hand, but everything else should go where it needs to be. So deck is 40, stone deck is at 10. Here's my sideboard, and then my tokens. And you notice these are all hidden information from both players, which is the way it's supposed to be. And now we're ready to play the game. So what we'll do is we'll present our ruler, and we'll start to begin figuring out who goes first, which is by rolling dice. So to roll dice in this game, you'll right click anywhere in the play field and go down to roll X dice. And we often just do 2 dice. You may have your own methods of figuring out who goes first. So I'll do 2 dice, and you see here down in the chat, it shows the results of that die roll. So it rolled 2 dice, getting 6 and 6 for a total of 12. My opponent will roll his dice. We'll just say we'll roll for him, boop, and roll dice. Opponent got 5. So with new rules in place, since I got the higher roll, I'm required to go first, so I will go first. If I was going to go second, and you want to remember you have energize for your ruler based on the ruler you're running, should it have energize? I usually select my ruler and then just pick one of these gems to put on it. This is a wind energize. I'll just put a wind gem on it, and you see, boop, right there. And that will help me remember while I'm playing my game that I still have an energized token I can use. To remove the energized, once you've played that energized token, you just hit boop, remove, done. All right, now to get into the game of it, we've presented our ruler, we've rolled the dice, we know who's going first. I'm going first, and we want to draw our hand. Now, I find it useful. You can either click the draw button, click it 5 times, draw 5. There's a little log button right here. So we'll click on this log button, and you'll see some various automatic commands you can do. Draw 5 will draw you 5 cards, and that's exactly how many we need. So I'll click draw 5, and here's our opening hand. Now we could keep this, but we want to mulligan because there's a couple cards in here I don't want to see this early in the game, such as Fair's Command. Now, to select the cards you want to mulligan, you can click them and just send them automatically to the bottom by right-clicking, going to send to bottom of, and deck. Now this will automatically send to the bottom of the deck. I want to make it quick and easy though, so I'm going to select this one, and holding my shift key, I want to click on this other card right here because I want to send both of those to the bottom of the deck. And I'm not concerned about the order that they go to the bottom in. Maybe you would be, so make sure you send accordingly. But for me right now, I'm going to right-click, send to bottom of, and deck. Send both of those cards to the bottom of my deck. I'd communicate to my opponent. Usually I'm on Discord with the headset. Okay, so now that we have our hand set and our opponents figure out their mulligan situation as well, we're ready to start the game. Now, first thing you generally are going to do is you're going to call a stone. So I'm going to double tap. Double tapping any card will cause it to rest. So in this case, we'll double tap the ruler. It rests it. Calling a stone. To call a stone, you'll again on anywhere on the field, right click, go down to call stone. This will generate a stone straight from the top of your stone deck. All right, now that we have this in play, I'm gonna tap that to rest it to produce a wind. And I'm gonna play Tama. So I communicate with my opponent playing Tama. Is it good? They'll let me know if it's good or not, if they have a response. Maybe they wanna cancel the automatic ability if they're capable of it. But once it enters the play, it does have the effect of drawing a card, so I'll draw a card. And that's really about it. You're going to go back and forth with your opponent doing these actions. Maybe there's turns where you're going to play a lightning strike. So an example of I'd be like, hey, I'm have the will, pretend I have the will. I would tap one and I'm going to lightning strike your face. My opponent's like, cool, I'm going to take it. So they go to their health and they -5. I'm like, cool. Grab that card, drag it to my graveyard, send my graveyard. And so sending to your graveyard will be up to you to send to yourself. There has been times where I've accidentally drug it to the deck, so make sure you watch where you're sending that to. Like say they had a card, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna sack Tama for 2 to that resonator, and it dies, and Tama dies as a result, so it goes to my graveyard. Back and forth, so you get an understanding of how you're gonna do battle and continue with the game. Now, coming back into our turn, let's say our opponent was doing all that actions on their turn, comes to us. So now we're going to perform the usual actions coming into our turn. So for one, we'll draw a card. Once we've drawn a card, nothing I want to play before recovery, so we'll go ahead and recover. So again, recovery, we'll right click and hit recover all. Now there are easy buttons down here if you want to use these instead, so you can just tap recover all instead. I'm used to just right clicking and hitting recover all. So once we've done that, I'll tap to rest, call a stone. And we have another stone to play. So we'll tap this stone and play Sacred Elf. So the opponent had no response. Cool. Well, I'm going to play another one. And we'll pass turn. Game progresses, goes on and on. Let's say we get to a point where it comes into our turn. I draw for turn, recover. And I want to play Judgment now. So we're going to tap 3 for Judgment. Just make sure you paid the actual cost required for your Judgment ability. Mine is 3, 2 green, 1 void. And I'm ready to play. So we'll use these buttons here to make it easier. Flip card, boom. Flip the card over. Our J Ruler is in play. So this card does have an enter ability. Once it's come into play, it's going to do 2 things. One, it's going to gain 4 Gale protection counters. So I'll usually just put generic counters. So add a basic counter, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those exist now. You may want to use a color just to make it easier for you to see that. Let's just use a green. Yep, that's not green. There you go. Now you know he has those counters. Make sure with your opponent you're acknowledging the 2 different colors. So maybe he still had an Energize on him. So you want to make sure you're showing this is what this is what that other one is. Now once he does come into play, he has another ability that he will search for an Elf Resonator with total cost 4 or less. I don't believe I added the cards that you want to target with this, like Tia. But the way we'll search our deck is we'll go to the deck tab. We'll right click it. Reveal to owner all. Now in certain situations where you need to reveal the entire deck to your opponent, you can do that. So you can do so here. But for now, I'm going to go to reveal all. And let me search for an elf. Yeah, I didn't add Tia to this. That was pretty dumb. Cool combo. But anyways, we'll add Spirit Caller Elf and put her into the field. Now she comes into the field. That sound you heard is the sound that will always take place whenever adding a card from your deck to the play area. It's just to help both opponents understand where the card came from. When she comes into play, she'll bring a token in with her, but before we go get that token, let's hide this so we don't see it ourselves going forward. Oops, wrong button. Reveal none. And then we gotta shuffle our deck. Automatically randomizes everything. And now that's done, let's go to tokens. We'll grab a token, put it into play with us. Boom, there we go. And that's kind of how you would perform certain Judgment abilities. Everybody has a different method that everybody has a different automatic ability or enter in whatever they're trying to do. But then that's done, that's exactly how you're going to play the game. Going back and forth, performing certain actions. You perform those actions yourself. The game isn't automatic. This is a very simple, stripped down game. It's the only thing we currently have to use right now, as it looks like the Force of Will companies abandoned their simulator project. Hey guys, while editing this video, I actually realized I didn't tell you the whole plugins part using deck lists and sharing them. That makes it easier. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. Now let's just say you had a deck list your friend was running. You don't want to recreate it, going through the whole process of creating the cards. You just tell them to, hey, send me the list over. The way you would do this is you would go to that Lackey CCG folder that we had. Depends on where you placed it. You go to plugins and then go up to Force of Will Modular and decks. And this is every deck that exists in the game. Now these are all default ones that are the starter decks. You see there's Lapis ones and there's also the Rhea ones. And what we're going to do is you'll just grab one of these deck lists, you copy it, say paste it to your desktop like I did to this one over here, and you'd send to your friend either by email, in Discord, however you really want to send it, on a flash drive. You can give it to him or her. And in this case, we'll just say that this deck right here is one a friend sent me and I want to import it. And so what we'll do is we'll grab that, drag it into the decks folder. This is the one my friend sent me. It's now inside here. We'll go ahead and close that because we're done there. We'll open up Lackey, we'll go to deck editor, and you're gonna go to browse. Once browse is there, you'll see that the Crimson Girl one I just added is here, and we'll say choose. And now that list pulls up, and that's it. But now that you have this understood, you're really just set to go on your own. If you have further questions I may have missed, let me know in the comments below. I'll try to address those quickly. Now, before you actually go, one last tip. To me, this is just my personal opinion, the backgrounds are a little bit busy. I like super simple, single color tab backgrounds. So I usually just go to preferences, go to appearance, and you come down here to the playmat preferences area, and you'll go to browse. Now there's some defaults that are already loaded in here if you want a different type of like Force World playmat. I usually just go with this wood one, super simple. Hit choose, make sure you go there and hit save preferences. And there's my play area. It may be easier to identify what's in play so you don't lose track of a card and be like, oh, I didn't realize this one card was here. This would have saved me the game. Now I see everything in my play area, and it's very easy for me to use. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today, and I hope you found a lot of that super useful. This is a question we always get often, is how to use Lackey, how to install it, all of that. And now the only question you should have is, hey, who wants to play Lackey with me? And you can let us know in our Discord. So thank you for watching. Make sure to hit the like button. If you're not subscribed already, make sure to subscribe. We'll bring gameplay, Force of Will news, certain other things. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.